Hey, welcome back to the Fox Local Stream. I'm Marla Tejas in Los Angeles. Temporary Protected Status, or TPS, for hundreds of thousands of Haitians living in the U.S. is set to expire. In fact, it expired today, leaving many workers in limbo. To break down what this all means, we have Steve Maggi, an immigrant attorney from SMA Law. Steve, thank you so much for being with me.
Thanks for the invitation.
Tell us what is happening as of today, July 27th, 2026, and how does this impact about 300,000 Haitians in this country?
Today marks an end to a 16-year period in which Haitian nationals had what's called temporary protected status. You mentioned the number, 350,000 Haitian nationals, which allowed them to stay in the United States, be protected from potential deportation, and most importantly, to be able to work. It gave them authorization to work. And they became a big part of the cultural fabric in the United States, as well as part of the economic fabric, working in a lot of important fields. And about 3/4 of those 350,000 people are working. They're using that employment authorization, which puts employers in a really difficult position right now, where they have to decide, should I now employ these same people illegally, or do I need to look for new workers? It puts employers in a really difficult situation. It also has the threat of tearing apart families, because a lot of these individuals, many of whom have been here for these 16 years or more, have US born children. And there's no mechanism in place to protect the rights of those US citizen children that they have.
For a Haitian who is watching and has all of these concerns, what is your advice?
Well, the problem here is that what we had before under TPS was what I call a blanket solution. It allowed anyone who was physically present in the US when it was passed on January 21st, 2010, to access this protected status. But there is no blanket solution for these individuals, and they could potentially be placed in deportation proceedings. And so what I tell people now is, you have to assess your case individually, because there is no blanket solution based on your nationality. So you need to speak with someone who understands how the laws work and what potential remedies are out there for these individuals to be able to remain in the United States.
Have you heard from someone within the Haitian community?
I have. I work with Haitian employers. I work with Haitian immigrants who have their status and run businesses. We've had a lot of questions today, and up to this moment, because the writing was on the wall here that this would be the case, the government is essentially stripping down this entire program country by country. So when the expiration comes up or the renewal date comes up, they are deciding not to renew country by country. So a lot of these employers are asking me, how do I keep some of my countrymen and countrywomen here in the US? What do I do now when there is no legal mechanism for them to be able to protect their status and to remain in the United States?
Well, how do you,
so
let me just jump in here and say, how do you answer that for them?
I give them the same answer I give you, is that as employers, there's no actions that they can take to fix the status of these individuals. We need to assess their eligibility for different remedies on a case-by-case basis. And this is very alarming, because the great majority of people who were, like as you aptly said, in this status until today and no longer are, may not have a remedy. Even if they have US born children, those children cannot petition for them until they turn 21. And so there's going to be a lot of people here that are in a difficult spot that may not have a solution. And that's the hardest thing for me to do as an immigration attorney, is to tell people there may not be an answer.
So this is all happening after this was because of the Trump administration, and then a month. So the Supreme Court ruled in favor of, well, ultimately curtailing, blocking lower courts' ability to block the Trump administration from revoking these DTPs, the temporary deportation protections. But in the
Correct.
ruling, though, I want to ask you this. I'm pulling this up. I want to make sure that I get this right. The justices left the door open for TPS beneficiaries to bring constitutional challenges to the administration's actions. What does that mean? That seems like that could be a loophole or a lifeline, if you will.
Possibly there could be a Fifth Amendment due process claim here where these individuals, anyone who is physically present in the U.S., is supposed to be able to go through a legal process before they're deported. In this case, there is no such thing because the Department of Homeland Security has carte blanche to decide which countries can access this program and which countries can be essentially cut from the program, like happened to Haiti. And the Supreme Court said, the majority decided that they could not have a say in questioning what DHS's actual powers are, which is a really scary concept, to give them complete authority as to choose who and when these countries can have access to the program or no longer qualify. Because Haiti, if you look at the definition of countries that should qualify, because its conditions have gotten worse as opposed to gotten better over these 16 years, should continue to qualify based on the standards that are supposed to be applied.
As far as your understanding, why was this enacted in the first place by the Trump administration? Why this decision?
This is not a surprise for people who work with the Haitian community like I do. Last year there was humanitarian parole was rescinded for Haitians. About 200,000 Haitians were sponsored by financial sponsors, U.S. citizens, to be able to live in the U.S. who were also part of this workforce. And then in between that and this that happened today, all visa issuances were revoked and suspended by the U.S. government for the embassy in Haiti, which means no Haitian, even if they're married to a U.S. citizen or the child or parent of a U.S. citizen, can now get a visa to enter the U.S. And so this was the last step in cutting all immigration ties essentially with Haiti. It's a way of punishing a country that is really a victim in so many different ways. You're talking about a country that had 5,500 homicides last year. For a country of 14 million people, it's one of the highest rates in the world. And so there's no drinkable water, there's no access to education or to a health system, and there's incredible violence, which makes it very difficult for Haitians to live. On top of that, 35% of the money of the gross domestic product in Haiti comes from remittances from Haitians in the United States, many of whom were in this TPS program and were working to send money home. And so now Haitians will be suffering even more, and sending them home is about the cruelest thing that you can do because it is probably the most difficult place for someone to live now.
All right, Steve Maggi, an immigrant attorney from SMA Law. Thank you so much for being with me on the Fox Local Stream to talk about this important issue.
Thank you.